Hey there, welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Musa Jalloh, and in today's video, I'm gonna be reacting to a video from Go Somewhere Slow, and the video is entitled The Rise and Fall of ESKOM in South Africa. Just in case if you don't know, ESKOM, it is like the electricity company in South Africa, I think all the distributor of electricity in South Africa. And everywhere you go on the internet, South Africans, you guys are complaining about load shedding in your country. So finally today we're gonna get to the bottom of this whole load shedding case and see what is the cause of the load shedding in South Africa. We're gonna see if it's like the lack of infrastructure, or is it like the lack of capacity, or is it like poor management. But whatever the case is today, I hope this video will clarify to us. So with no further delay, let's get into the reaction.
Wake up. Power off. Stage 2. In the news, cable theft, electricity hike, late for work, traffic jams, ESKOM's push.
Oh my god, the electricity went off during the game though. That's crazy actually. Like you would think like the stadium have like a backup generator or something, but that's crazy, man.
Stage 4. Memes. Ads for generators. In the news. Economic struggles. Crisis. State of disaster. Phone can't charge any faster. Battery low. Can't cook, can't work. Another unit down. Stage 6. Reality. Until further notice. ESKOM must be one of the most hated names in South Africa. It's on our minds, hourly.
Actually, that might be true, because like the way people talk about load shedding on the internet in South Africa, it's like everybody hates it. Like, oh my god, everybody hates load shedding in South Africa.
Talk about an abusive relationship. Hot and cold. Our day-to-day is controlled by an on and off switch. And unless you can afford to go off the grid, divorce is not an option. But how did South Africa end up in this marriage? And who should we blame for the blackouts? You're watching Slow. And to begin to understand, let's go back to the beginning of ESKOM. 100 years back. The need for power begins with gold. Gold mining and railways switching from steam to electricity gave way to the Electricity Act in 1922. The goal? To stimulate the provision, wherever required, of cheap and abundant supply of electricity. Ironic.
That is like so crazy though. Like so, like for example, like the creation of the South African grid, it wasn't created with the mindset like, oh, this grid is like to supply the city of electricity, but their focus was on the gold mine. That is like so crazy actually.
In 1923, ESKOM was established by the South African government. Soon after, ESKOM built its first power stations. And as the gold price went up, so did the demand for electricity and more power stations. To do this, ESKOM obtained loans and paid it back years before the due date, without tapping the taxpayers' wallets. The Second World War came and went. The economy was booming, and everybody wanted to plug into convenience. By the early 70s, the dream of a national grid finally became a reality. But the more ESKOM expanded, the more money was needed. Several factors were against them. The cost of borrowing was high. Because of apartheid, South Africa was isolated from capital markets. With the Electricity Amendment Act of 1971, ESKOM could use tariffs to build up capital and to protect consumers from big price hikes in the future.
Oh, so like like them having tariff, it means like electricity, they have like a minimum price, not a minimum price, but they have like I think they have like a minimum price that people have to pay. So in a way they like control the pricing in a way to not make it so expensive for the consumer, but also for them to make a little bit of money to be able to like sustain the company. It is a government-run company, so they wasn't so focused on making profit.
It was a balancing act to keep the lights on and to keep the people happy. In the late 80s, only 40% of South Africa had electricity. The political pressure was huge to bring more power.
In the late 80s, only 40% of South Africa had electricity. Or South Africans or South Africa,
Only 40% of South Africa had electricity. The
40% of
political
the country.
pressure was huge to bring more power to more people. And this was done, but it came with its own problems. Not everyone could afford electricity. And by 1994, ESKOM was already owed 920 million rand. With the new South Africa, it was finally declared that electricity is a basic human right. The goal was set: electrify 1.75 million homes by the year 2000.
It seemed the good times were here. ESKOM won numerous awards. From being recognized for uplifting South Africans to being the Power Company of the Year in 2001 at the Global Energy Awards in New York. Then 2007 rolled by, and South Africa was introduced to a new word:
Load shedding.
Low shedding.
And so I think it is very tempting to dress it up in some cutesy phrase of load shedding. Load shedding is a power cut.
The burning question: where did it all go wrong? And who is to blame? Who is the villain in our story? It's a bitter pill to swallow, but load shedding doesn't happen to spite us. It happens to prevent a complete blackout. Let's explain.
Oh my god, you know. I'm guessing like this whole load shedding situation is like because like okay, it's like nothing extraordinary, but I feel like I was gonna say, but I feel like it's because of the whole demand supply situation, you know, like I feel like that's what is the problem, you know.
This is our total installed capacity. This is for peak power demand. It's run by open cycle gas turbines that use diesel in pump storage schemes, or in other words, dams. But this is lost due to planned maintenance. This is lost because of unplanned breakdowns. And this goes because of partial load losses when a unit can't run at full capacity.
So like the peak demand is like way below the electricity that is like lost, you know, to like power management, or like infrastructure, you know, to like shut down breakdowns and stuff like that, you know. Oh my god, infrastructure problem in Africa, you know, like it's all over, man.
But we still have some for peak power demand, right? Not always. Sometimes water can't be pumped back into the dam's upper level, and then there's diesel shortages. So we might as well say goodbye to this. And now we sit in a situation where we need this much electricity. But this is what we have to work with.
Hello, stage 6 load shedding. But who's the real culprit here?
It's not the apartheid.
If electricity was viewed as a basic human right 50 or 60 years ago, there would have been more capacity created to connect more people.
However, in the last 3 decades, businesses have changed, and there's 20 million more people today than in 1994.
Oh my god. So like when they was creating the grade, they created it in mind for maybe just the white people in the mines. That's what they created the grade for. And then like after the apartheid ended, people started like needing more electricity, but the capacity of the grid wasn't meant for that huge population, you know. And like the guy said, like since that time until now, the South African population have increased by like 20 million people, you know. This is like so complicated, man. Like I don't know, like for them to fix this load shedding problem, you know, they're gonna need like a lot of investment to go into it, you know, like a lot of investment, you know.
So the need for power is exponentially higher. In 1998, Cabinet approved a white paper on energy. It was time to make a decision to spend money on building new power stations by 1999. The research showed that South Africa will run out of electricity. Coal fire stations built in the 70s and 80s were already pushed too far and too long beyond their design perimeters.
Unfortunately, the documentation of the cost was only finalized by mid-2007. A few months later, load shedding was implemented. And this has devastated our economy ever since.
We need to act urgently to end load shedding that is causing such huge damage to our economy. But I'm sure you are going to tell us that load shedding that is disrupting your own business operations and frustrating your efforts to reach higher levels of growth.
Let me remind you, Mr. President, it was you who in 2015 told us as South Africans that within 18 months to 2 years, we would forget that the problems with ESKOM and load shedding ever happened.
So the president has made a promise that there would be no load shedding. We've seen load shedding at its worst level ever, the greatest threat to South Africa.
Bro, there's like, it is like so much loss to the economy to think about it, Imagine people have restaurant, like, and then you're in the middle of the day and then like load shedding happen, Instead, in order for you to be able to like continue running your restaurant for like maybe 4 or 5 hours, you have to have like a backup generator. You have to like buy diesel or gasoline, to like run the generator, or you need to install solar. So like all those things increase your cost, And then when it increase your cost, your profit margin will get lower, and in return you have like lower money to invest back into the business, But worst case scenario for people who don't have the money to even have the backup generator and buy diesel, So that means like they have to shut down their business for like 4 to 5 hours, that if they cannot work in their business without like the electricity, But like if you think about the factories also, like people have like these big industrial complexes, When there is load shedding happening, it's either they like have to go and get a backup generator, spend extra money. Like it is so much money though. Like if I was in the position of power, I rather would just invest that money one time. We have the debt and then we'll try to like fix it, If you look at the amount of money being lost every year, I think it will even be more than the amount of money that they need to bring the grid up back to standard, That is like, it is crazy, man.
And to South Africans is ESKOM and the ruling party.
The price of electricity just goes up and up.
Wow.
With the price up, the sales are down, and ESKOM is still making a loss. Want to go green? That's easier said than done. About 85% of our electricity is generated by coal.
There are so many vested interests in the coal value chain that the threat of decarbonization, even though we're talking about a multi-decade move, very gradual move away from coal, why that is so eagerly opposed and with such vehemence.
At the moment we have, guilt about our great reserves of coal and fossil fuels. Let's not be guilty anymore. Why should we listen to the international community that says we can't use our coal? They used coal. Now they've got guilt about climate change. They're telling us
They're still using coal.
Correct. So we should go back to fossil fuel.
That is like, I don't know, I feel like I kind of agree with him in a way, Because like South Africa is not in the place that they have the money to invest like in renewable energy, Because like I rather have like a dirty energy than no energy, in a way, So it is like so crazy, like country like maybe like the US, they'll use like this not clean energy to like modernize their economy to go through like the industrial revolution for them, But most African countries, we haven't like been through our own industrial revolution yet, So like in a way, it kind of like unfair to be like people, what? You should like all go and use green energy, Like people don't have the resources for that, Because like I'd rather people have like dirty energy than no energy, Like at least that's my own opinion,
And get our energy independency. But we need to add nuclear and we need to add gas.
There are no new mines we are going to open because in the last 10 years we have had no exploration expenditure. So geologically we have got lesser understanding of where this country is. So the minerals in terms of processing and otherwise you're not going to see that. But when you talk about the 4IR economies, whether data centers or cryptocurrency mining, all of that is an unknown but it's energy intensive. But there is not a single major player that has made that commitment that they are going to invest in those industries which are energy intensive, therefore capitalism. The consequences are catastrophic to say the least.
If we want more power, we need more power stations. Under the right management, it takes about 10 years from the decision to build a new coal or nuclear power station before it begins to make electricity.
Now, bear in mind that ESKOM cannot, by law, procure its own electricity. We cannot go and build new power stations. We are required to apply for a Section 34 determination from the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy.
My somewhat less than illustrious predecessors refused to sign power purchase agreements with IPPs on grounds that this.
That's actually like one thing I don't really like. You know, like if you like in those like democracy, right? That's one thing I feel like that's one of the shortcomings of democracy. You know, like whenever they have like regime change, it's like most of the time they don't continue the policy of the previous regime, like the developmental plan. You know, like the plan they have for infrastructure and stuff like that. They just like throw everything away and start a new plan, and then when the next people come in power, they throw that away and start a new plan. You know, but it's crazy, man. Like it's really so crazy.
Would not be in the interests of ESKOM. There are calculations done by energy experts that have indicated that as much as 95% of load shedding today could have been avoided if those contracts had in fact been signed.
And then there's ESKOM's ever-revolving door of management.
If you look at the private sector, when you rotate directors in and out, you typically do it up to a third of the board at a time in order to preserve institutional memory.
With the cyanide poisoning of previous CEO, Andre de Ruyter,
That is like so crazy, like cyanide poisoning, you know? Wow.
one can understand that it's not a job for the faint-hearted.
About 15-20 minutes after this cup of coffee, I started feeling extremely nauseous and shaking, gasping for air. So the doctor was running up and down, and one of his colleagues called him over and said, "What's wrong with that guy?" And he said, "Well, we don't know, we're running tests." His colleague told him, "I've seen this before, this is cyanide poisoning."
Damn. If that doctor wasn't gonna be at work that day, then this guy is done, you know?
Here's the truth. At the bottom of our woes lies more than just a monopoly that is ESKOM. It's a haphazard failure of political interference, corruption, crime, incompetence, debt, and the lack of maintenance.
Here's your culprit. The process of cancer fighting to stay alive is called metastasis. It happens when there's a failure in the regulation of cell growth. It spreads from its original location to affect another. If we don't understand the disease and where it spreads, we'll never find a cure.
That is like so true, actually, you know? Problem like this, you have to go down to the source of the problem, you know? If it's like, that means like changing the whole administration from like top to bottom, if that's what it's gonna take, you do it, you know, like, but things like this, but I feel like in Africa, like, I don't know, but I feel like people, when things happen, like, take for example, so like somebody's like charged with corruption in Africa, you know, and then they are found guilty, you know, like, nothing will really come from out of it, you know, but like, things like this, it is like really so bad, like, people have to be really strong-minded, you know, like.
Whatever language you want to call it, in the language of public policy, a self-interest group.
Those in power blame everyone and everything but themselves for the electricity crisis.
And what is clear, Mr. President, is that every time your ministers don't perform, instead of firing them, you protect them by taking things into the presidency. Be decisive, Mr. President. Fire them.
Criminality is well embedded and well organized. It operates like the mafia.
There's a diesel mafia, a cable mafia. Every single element of ESKOM has a mafia involved, okay?
That is like so crazy that I have people like stealing the cables from like the electricity line, you know? Like, what? It's like so crazy to think about, and then like maybe sometime like those same people who are doing like stealing the cables, you know, they're gonna be the one like coming back to complain like they don't have electricity, you know. It is so crazy, but like, damn, man, like it's so sad.
And they are stealing and breaking.
But the coal corruption has been ongoing since 2001. The coal corruption just got bigger and bigger and bigger and worse and worse and worse.
So some have suspected, but you're saying that load shedding can be directly placed at the door of the Guptas. Tell us how.
Contracts are tainted by corruption, fraud, and money laundering is rife. Dodgy contracts totaling 178 billion rand were investigated by a law firm. However, in 2019, it was shut down by senior members of ESKOM's management. Cable theft alone is costing the economy more than 47 billion rand a year.
That is like so crazy though, like 47 billion rands a year, you know. Let me even see how much that in US dollars, you know. Like just cable theft, you know. Oh my god, that's like almost $2.6 billion, you know. Damn, that is a lot, you know. That's a lot.
And that's only when you're looking at the losses of ESKOM, PRASA, Transnet, and the reduced output of the mining industry. To put that into perspective, that's more than 130 million rand every single day.
This is definitely planned, this is definitely funded, and I'm saying it live on TV that this is funded.
It is a very sophisticated syndicate. The way they operate, it clearly shows that they know what they are doing.
Municipalities owe ESKOM more than 68 billion rand. Government will take on more than half of ESKOM's debt, but the bailout won't keep the lights on.
Municipal debt will soon be ESKOM's second biggest liability.
40 meetings of an interministerial task team haven't been able to come up with a plan.
There is no way you can force them to pay.
Our power stations are getting older, and the ailments are creeping in.
They are. You know, things like that when they start breaking, like most things that have to do with technology, you know, when they start breaking, they're like, it's not even gonna get better, you know. Like, so like, I'm really sorry for people in South Africa, you know, when it comes to like the load shedding situation, because based on what I'm seeing from this video, I feel like it's only gonna get worse, you know. Like, damn, I feel like it's only gonna get worse, you know.
A situation where they cannot even predict what's going to happen a few hours ahead. The plants are breaking down that frequently.
But if you keep the lights on at all costs, as we did for many years, you just postpone the day of darkness.
Like in that way, you're not like solving the problem, but you're kind of like running away from the problem, you know. But eventually, it will catch up with you, you know. Like eventually, it's gonna come and haunt you, you know.
The effect of load shedding goes far beyond missing out on our morning coffee. Businesses not only lose money, they shut shop. Some even see greener grass and immigrate.
I'm concerned about the people leading this country. Do they understand the economics of the country? Do they care? This is a huge concern to us as NBBC.
Agriculture suffers to the point where food security is a serious threat.
And how much of a threat it is for food security? We are going to die. We are going to die. The plants are going to die. We need to irrigate them.
Traffic is a mess.
Irrigation, you know, like they need a lot of water, and probably they need pumps for those water to like irrigate the farm. It's there, but this is scary, bro. This is scary.
Crime is higher because when the lights are out, the criminals are out.
Load shedding is killing the response time of emergency services.
And the health of South Africans is in danger. Only 10% of public hospitals.
Wow, we saw that lady, she was on like a machine. I don't know which machine is that, but then the light went off, the whole machine went off, you know. Imagine if she needed that to like survive, like if she cannot survive without it, you know.
Also spared from load shedding.
And when people die, backup power is needed to preserve their bodies for burial. A luxury for many mortuaries.
The list of consequences go on and on. It sounds ridiculous, but for now we should probably appreciate load shedding. Without it, a complete blackout is more of a reality than a possibility. And that will mean weeks without any electricity. Power will have to get back online from scratch. The question on everyone's lips: what is the way forward?
What we've heard today, we are not convinced that even in 10 years we're going to solve these problems. We're already now drawing energy from the neighboring countries. We also sell to the other countries as well.
But like, why would you be selling energy to other countries when you don't have enough, you know? Is it like because doing like when it's like big production time in South Africa, it's like they have like too much electricity to supply to the people, so like they have to send them outside, you know? or they don't have the infrastructure to like distribute those electricity, you know. Because like I don't get it, you know, like you shouldn't be selling electricity during that time, you know.
I think we have a serious problem. The government does not have a comprehensive plan in place to deal with the energy crisis. We've said before, you need a minimum of 1.5 trillion rand, and it's going to take you up to 10 years if you start today.
To privatize or not to privatize? Will a state of disaster help? How will the 2024 elections impact load shedding? The answer? It's as much in the dark as we are. We regret to inform you. Stay tuned for the inevitable sequel of this video.
Man, like this video was like really well produced, like very informative, you know. Damn, this load shedding situation in South Africa, I feel like it is really so crazy to think about, you know. Like for me, like the worst part is like the loss of productivity, you know, like they say like they need like about 1.5 trillion rand to like solve the problem from today and it's going to take like 10 years in the future to solve the problem. But if you look at the economical output that is being lost to load shedding, you know, I feel like that money is like worth it, you know. Like I feel like that's something that you should invest that money into, like bring it up to standard, you know. Because when you have electricity, it make like things so much more easier, you know. Like being in Norway, I've been here like for a very long time, you know, but I can count on my one hand like how many times the power went off in Norway, you know. And when it went off, it's like 2-3 seconds, you know, it's back on again, you know. Like I don't even know. But it's like really so crazy, man. Like, but thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you do, remember to like it, comment down below. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.